The phrase bad circumstances always seems to dominate our conversations, serving as the primary justification for most of our failures. Whenever we fall short of achieving something, anything, we instinctively feel compelled to justify that failure by blaming the circumstances and referring to a long series of problems we face in life, hindering us from accomplishing anything of value. We are all, in one way or another, familiar with the motivational literature that recounts the epic story of Abraham Lincoln, which qualified him for the presidency after a relentless series of failures in his life. The story of Edison, who succeeded in inventing the light bulb after 999 failed attempts, and the story of Einstein, who was accused of stupidity for most of his life. Not to mention memorizing dozens of inspiring quotes that assert that failure is the first step to success, and that failure is the primary foundation upon which one's achievements are built in subsequent stages. However, readings and quotes always remain in the realm of theoretical knowledge. The situation is completely different when faced with the test, standing face to face with failure, or difficult, exhausting, painful circumstances that always seem to be the end. Success in life, and achieving great accomplishments, is very possible, and can be achieved by those who desire it, no matter how bad, shameful, or tragic the circumstances are. Everyone is capable, as long as the will is there. In fact, some people use these bad circumstances and crises as a springboard to reach success, fame, and wealth. Want some examples? Here are 6 inspiring stories of entrepreneurs who, despite the poverty and difficult circumstances they faced, managed to create their wealth and became wealthy. A journey beginning at age 6. Farah Gray's circumstances were exceedingly dire, even at the tender age of 6. A black child living in an extremely impoverished neighborhood, with a mother afflicted by heart disease and responsible for a family of 3 siblings, he was the 4th among them. There seemed to be no escape route to a normal life under such circumstances. His only option was to engage in modest work at this young age. He embarked on a business venture selling skincare creams for $1.50 each, distributing them to neighbors and residents of the area. He bought them wholesale and sold them individually. What caught attention was his remarkable eloquence. He could swiftly persuade customers to buy, earning their admiration for his communication skills. At the age of 9, when his family moved to another city, Las Vegas, an opportunity arose for Farah Gray. He caught the public eye by speaking on a radio program, which led to a job offer as an assistant host on a show with 12 million listeners. He began to accumulate wealth, investing it in his startup food business in New York, hitting his first million at the age of 14. The following year, he founded a company selling phone cards, launched a radio program for teenagers, invested in a magazine, established a charity in his name, and produced a comedy show. By the time he turned 15, he received a scholarship as compensation for the years he spent away from education, and was personally received by the President of the United States alongside a congressional delegation. He was granted honorary membership in numerous American business councils. Adverse circumstances propelled him to start early, even earlier than necessary for precision's sake, enabling him to achieve all his desired accomplishments by the age of 15. The world's youngest entrepreneur. In 2009, the family of young Corey Nieves made the decision to relocate from New York to New Jersey. Corey was merely 5 years old at the time. Even at this tender age, he noticed his family's real financial struggles that prevented them from purchasing a small car. Despite his young age, he felt the necessity to assist his family with life's burdens. Thus, he crafted a small wooden cart and began manufacturing cocoa drinks, selling them along with fresh lemonade to passers-by. Almost every passerby was drawn to him, and everyone would stop by to purchase his beverages, either out of astonishment, encouragement, or admiration. He managed to generate significant profits. Afterwards, he decided to expand his offerings to include cakes and pastries on his wooden cart. In the same manner, the cakes he offered received admiration from passers-by, alongside admiration for himself as a young child working diligently to earn his daily bread. He began seeking outlets to sell his distinctive products and successfully secured contracts with numerous markets within the city and the state. As a result, his products started spreading noticeably, reaching markets in neighboring New York as well. Over time, as his food items gained popularity, the young boy decided to establish his own company, Mr. Corey's Cookies, which quickly began generating substantial profits due to the quality of its confections and to spotlight him as the youngest entrepreneur in the entire world. Nieves, who has yet to reach his teenage years, now has a personal office in America, and his company has an official website and social media presence, offering a variety of confections at different prices. Clyde Beasley, from inmate to entrepreneur. Clyde Beasley, a criminal who spent a full 11 years in prison on various charges including drug possession and multiple other despicable crimes. One night in prison, he spent his day watching the final match of the golf game he passionately enjoyed. Unfortunately for him, luck wasn't on his side as the match was abruptly cancelled midway due to inclement weather. This interruption sparked a remarkable idea in his mind: why not create a miniature version of the golf game, playable on a wide table surface, akin to table tennis, which is considered a manifestation of tennis, mixing elements of golf and billiards. Despite the peculiarity of the idea, it deeply intrigued him. He began to design the new game from his imagination, using some papers, and even started conceptualizing and laying down the rules of the game, including the table space, boundaries, and other details. After spending 11 years in prison, Beasley left with a determination to bring his idea to life. He headed to the nearest store selling tools and equipment, purchasing everything he had envisioned and planned for to implement his idea. He then returned home with his loot and devoted long nights to crafting a prototype of this fantastical game. After days, Beasley successfully crafted his prototype and tested it several times, even summoning his friends to inspect and try the game, identifying any flaws or loopholes in its rules. Everyone expressed immense admiration for it. Thus began the marketing phase of the product, which was met with rejection from most stores. However, one design company was impressed by the game in 2003 and decided to adopt, purchase, and design it. 2 years later, sales of the game designed by the inmate surpassed approximately $5 million, turning Beasley into a millionaire and adopting a new approach in his life. He toured the entire United States showcasing his life and delivering motivational lectures to young people. The Path to Success, Jim Pattison's remarkable journey. Jim Pattison epitomizes the notion of working every humble job in your path until you succeed. Born in Canada, Pattison didn't inherit wealth, nor did he complete his education. He didn't exhibit any particular skills, unless you count his talent for newspaper delivery as a young child. He worked as a bellhop in a modest hotel, then on a fruit-picking farm, followed by distributing fruits and seeds to households. He sold cakes and candies to his schoolmates to earn some money and worked as a car hop in public parking lots. Later, he participated as a construction worker on a bridge building project in the city, then took up a job as a packer in a packaging company, and even served as a waiter in a railroad restaurant. He practically tried every humble profession and left no stone unturned, until he ended up working as a car washer in a used car workshop. This particular job, among all the others he undertook, turned his entire life upside down. One day, when the employee responsible for selling used cars was absent from work, Pattison was assigned to sit in his place merely to monitor the requests. Seizing the opportunity, Pattison sold one of the used cars for an incredibly good deal. This moment marked the beginning of his journey into the world of buying and selling used cars. He obtained a loan from a bank, then persuaded car company officials to partner with him to open a used car dealership. The result? After several months, he achieved tremendous success, with a huge public turnout and a massive financial influx that made his fortune swell. To the point where he opened a chain of supermarkets, followed by launching a radio network. He then ventured into the media industry, founding an advertising company. Expanding his activities further, he established a fishing company, a shipping company, financial companies, and acquired the Vancouver Blazers Hockey Club. He even opened the Vancouver World's Fair, then took over several companies in various fields. However, he never forgot his humble beginnings. He is considered one of the top donors in Canada, contributing millions to medical institutions and various organizations, allocating 10% of his income to charitable causes. Jim Pattison is now in his mid-80s, and he's considered the wealthiest billionaire in Canada, with a net worth exceeding $9 billion. His conglomerate employs over 33,000 employees. Denied medical education, yet became a billionaire. Fred DeLuca, an American of Italian descent, entered life in the late 1940s only to realize he belonged to a humble family. He found himself collecting empty bottles from the streets at the age of 10, selling them for a few cents. Moving to another city in America, he worked, at a young age, in newspaper distribution to households. Later, in a third city where he completed his high school education amidst difficult circumstances, he aspired to attend medical school. However, his dream was shattered, not due to lack of skills or capabilities, but simply because he was poor and couldn't afford medical school tuition fees. Instead of pursuing further education, he continued working as a low-paid salesman in a store. This situation left him feeling genuinely frustrated until he reached out to an old friend who convinced him of the possibility of opening a fast food outlet that could generate enough profit to fund his college education. The young man took a modest loan of $1,000 from his old friend, found a narrow and tiny shop, and began equipping it with basic facilities, naming it Bits Subway. The shop faced severe challenges, but he managed to open a second branch, then a third, which brought in good profits and some fame. DeLuca offered the Subway brand for sale as a franchise to businessmen and commercial institutions. The result? By the late 1970s, the number of Subway outlets exceeded 100, and its rapid expansion continued in the 1980s and 1990s. Now, the number of its branches worldwide exceeds 40,000, with annual revenues reaching $9 billion. As for Fred DeLuca, who experienced the shock of his life in his youth by being unable to afford medical school, his current wealth has reached over $2.5 billion. He likely feels immense gratitude now for his inability to attend medical school, as he had wished throughout his life. From a torn sign to a billionaire, the Ted Williams story. It began with a torn sign on a winter night. I possess a God-given talent in my voice. I'm a former radio announcer, fallen into many troubles. Please. Any help from you would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. God bless. These were the words written on a sign held by a homeless man who appeared to be in his 50s, standing on a New York City street corner in the winter of 2011. His sight caught the attention of a journalist who recorded the man with his phone camera and approached him to inquire about the talent he claimed to possess in his voice, preparing to give him some change. He then listened to the astonishing voice. The journalist uploaded the video to YouTube, garnering a massive number of views and sparking discussions in the American media. This introduced a new and entirely different radio voice to society. Ted Williams, now one of the most famous American broadcasters, especially renowned for his voiceover work for major global products. This sidewalk encounter was not a mere coincidence but lasted for several days, serving as the only solution for the man who spent almost his entire life oscillating between alcohol and drug addiction, arrests and imprisonment, and wandering the streets begging from passers-by. Yet, he knew all along that he was talented and that he could return to life after crossing the age of 50. All he could do was stand under the rain, holding up the sign, waiting for an opportunity. And when the opportunity finally arrived, after he chased it himself, he became one of the most famous and important radio voices in the United States, signing advertisements for major companies like Kraft Cheese, appearing on numerous talk shows, and contracting with news channels to provide radio and advertising breaks. After about 2 years, he released a widely acclaimed book in America titled The Golden Voice, recounting his life story, which was all about suffering plus misery plus imprisonment plus homelessness plus drugs plus family breakdown that ended in glory and fame, all because of a small sign written in his own hand, on a cold winter night in front of passers-by. It was all he could do to rescue himself from this situation. And indeed, it succeeded. Conclusion. A kid who started out at the age of 6 with the goal of helping his mother and ended up as one of the brightest kids to ever meet the President of the United States. Another kid opened an international candy store. An inmate who spent a decade behind bars, he rose to become a pioneering entrepreneur and distinguished motivational speaker. A family man was fired from his job in his 40s, which motivated him to become a billionaire, owning a chain of the most luxurious hotels in the world. A streetwise drifter, in his 50s, most of which was spent in drugs and crime, he became one of the most prominent radio voices in the United States. A young man who lost hope of studying the field he had dreamed of all his life became a billionaire through the first small store he opened to pay for his education. A person who spent a long period of his life working in every humble profession imaginable eventually became the richest billionaire in the country in which he lived. All of us, in one way or another, have gone through these stages, stations, and pains in different forms. Most of us have mastered cursing the circumstances that brought us to this misery, loss, and failure. And the rare few, like these individuals, are the ones who stop cursing circumstances and start working. The famous American writer Joseph Campbell was not wrong when he said his brief sentence, "From mold comes life." Perhaps the most succinct sentence that summarizes everything contained in this report. It also sums up the main purpose of all the bad circumstances you are going through, and you think it is the end. Welcome to the Mind Building Channel, your go-to destination for sculpting an unbreakable mindset and unlocking the secrets to success. Join us as we delve into life lessons, extract wisdom from summary books, and explore the transformative power of a strong money mindset. Through inspiring stories of success, we aim to empower you to reach your full potential. If you're ready to embark on a journey of personal growth and development, subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to stay updated on our latest videos. Together, let's build minds that are resilient, adaptable, and primed for success. Don't miss out, subscribe now.